Welcome back to the Excellent Leadership Podcast. Chad Biagini here, and today we're joined by Candice Storey, Athletic Director at Vanderbilt University, a program that's quietly been building one of the most compelling stories in college athletics. Candice is the reigning Sports Business Journal Athletic Director of the Year, a recognition that tells you something real about what she's built. What sets her story apart is how completely her life is woven into this university. She arrived at Vanderbilt in 1996 as a student, played 4 years on the women's basketball team, earned her undergraduate, master's, and her doctorate, all from Vanderbilt. She spent her entire career there as well, moving from academic advisor to compliance director to senior woman administrator, all the way up the ranks to being named the first woman to lead an SEC athletics program in May of 2020. Candice gets into what it actually took to change the way the program sees itself, why she believed the foundation was always there and that missing piece wasn't talent, it was infrastructure, investment, and courage to hold the vision before the results caught up. We talk about why she sees academic excellence and athletic ambition as complementary rather than competing, and why she has made executive coaching central to how she develops her people. We also discuss the commercial evolution underway at Vanderbilt, the creation of Vanderbilt Enterprises, and what she looks for in people she hires. I'm joined today by my colleague, Chris Hoppe. Candice Storey, welcome to the Excellent Leadership Podcast. Candice Storey, welcome to the Excellent Leadership Podcast. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
So we're going to have fun. We normally do our 7-question blitz at the end, but I want to test something because I have to mix things up for myself. So we're starting with 7 questions we ask everybody.
Okay.
And just pump through them to get to know you and some fastballs. So first one for you. What sports event have you never attended that you still want to attend?
I kind of feel like I should say Wimbledon. I mean, it's on the tip of my tongue, but I've also never been to a Super Bowl. And, you know, it's coming to Nashville in a few years, but maybe I could wait till then, but Wimbledon, Super Bowl.
They're both special. Wimbledon is really something else.
I feel like I'm going to stick with Wimbledon.
Yeah.
First
just
answer.
The gardens and the flowers and all of that. All right. I like that answer.
One of the great leaders in college athletics right now. Kudos.
Thank you.
But everyone can improve. What's a leadership habit you're working on improving, and how are you doing it now?
Well, as you get to know me, I'm like a voracious book starter. I don't always finish them.
Yeah,
you know?
The first chapter has most of what you need.
First chapter has most of what you need. But I actually started and finished this book, Essentialism, by Greg McCowan. And, you know, it talks about with every decision that you make, there are trade-offs. And no is a complete sentence. I'm working very hard to devote my time to things that are like the highest and best use of my time.
Yeah.
I'm sort of wired to say yes. I love saying yes. I think it's important, but I'm trying to be thoughtful about like tying the yes to the thing that's like mission critical or highest and best use. So I'm a work in progress.
We all are.
So with that, you were empowered to be able to have said no to joining us today.
Correct.
But you said yes. This is
I said,
after.
let me think about the highest and best use of my time and getting to meet new friends and talk and connect.
Yeah.
That is important.
Good. We're honored. What sporting memory holds the dearest place in your heart?
Oh my gosh, there are so many things I could say. Here's what I'm going to say. We relaunched our volleyball program at Vanderbilt this year. So we actually had a program 45 years ago that was discontinued. And so 3 years ago, I hired our coach and we, you know, gave him plenty of time, plenty of runway to recruit and field a team. And so this year we relaunched the program by playing outdoors on what we call the Commons at Vanderbilt, which is essentially like our freshman campus on a lawn in front of this beautiful, beautiful building. Like the backdrop was incredible. Our entire freshman class was in attendance. We played Belmont, another great university right down the street. I mean, it was a beautiful moment. We had some of the women from the original team in attendance.
Cool.
And so there were about 5,000 people there. We had a post-match concert afterwards. The Belmont AD said to me, okay, I mean, of course we always want to win, but I am so grateful that we had a chance to participate in that. It was magical. And, you know, it was just a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful moment. I've had several knee surgeries and I had to redo my knee replacement last year. And I was working from home. And I had to do it in 2 parts. So I'm recovering from the second part. And I'm like, I cannot miss, we called it match 1. I can't miss match 1. And so my first day back at work was actually match 1. So I had to sort of coerce my husband and my mother into letting me go. So I was on crutches, but I was sitting up front It was so worth it. It was beautiful.
These knee surgeries from your days of being a basketball star?
Yes. I mean, gosh, I've had so many surgeries. You just thought I was really good. But no, but I'm doing so much better now.
Good.
Yeah. Thank you.
Friends, family, or you, what is something that people would say is nerdy about you? And it can't be about sports.
So if my husband, I think my parents would say this too. I know my husband would say that. I know my son would say this too, actually. Like if we go to like a museum, I'm going to read every single exhibit. Yeah. Or if we're like walking around the city and there's like a historical marker, I'm like, wait, stop, time out. And I'm going to read every word. And then I'm going to find out what else I can find out about said thing. And then I'm going to be an expert on that thing for about 1 week, until I forget it.
Until you forget it.
But I'm going to read every single thing about history that I can.
I love it.
Me too. I feel like that's the opposite of most people these days, because most of us just like, selfie, we were at the museum, and then you move on to the next location. You're actually like existing and being there and absorbing it. We all have things that annoy us when colleagues do it. What is your professional pet peeve? You
know what? So this seems, and I probably have done this to people, and I hope not, because that would make me a hypocrite, but my name is Candice, Candice. People misspell it all the time, and they misspell it like on email. Like I will send them an email, and then they write back like, thanks, Candice, like ACE or Candice with a K or Candyce, which I've never seen. I mean, surely somebody has a name, but I mean, and I'm like, what are we doing?
It was in my signature block.
What are we doing? What are we doing?
Yeah.
So that annoys me.
So you'll never misspell someone's name. You're going to learn it.
Now that I've said that, when I write you and misspell your name, like you should really give me a hard time.
I will. I'm going to hold you to this. Most people get Chad correct.
I mean, but listen, CHADD.
That's fair.
Yeah.
You can't be in your current career.
Okay.
And you can't work in sports. Where are we going to find you? What are you doing for work?
I came to college wanting to be a lawyer. And then I switched several times. And for the longest time, thought I'd be a therapist. You know what? I think I'd be a therapist.
Interesting.
Probably a therapist.
And why?
I really love to like be in moments with people. I think I'm a pretty empathetic person, but with boundaries. So I think that works. That probably works well.
That works well for you. Yeah, I love it. Helping people. Yeah.
All right, we're on guard then to see if you try to turn the questions around on us today. You're welcome to.
By the end, we'll see. Y'all be like, I don't think she's that nice at all. So we'll see.
And then last one for you. Next time I'm in Nashville, where do I need to eat dinner?
Oh, there's so many good places.
It's a good food scene.
Oh, man. Listen, I'm not going to say hot chicken, although no offense to hot chicken, because that's kind of our thing. But hot chicken in Nashville was actually started by Mrs. Prince from Prince's Hot Chicken. There's a whole story. We can go down that road sometime. But just side note, this is not my answer. But if you're going to have hot chicken, I would encourage you to go to Prince's. Now, my official on the record answer, I mean, I was going to say Husk, right? I love Husk, but there's a Husk in Charleston. So I didn't want to like fully land on that answer. Oh, and then I was going to say Butcher and Bee, but I think there's one in Charleston. Oh, there's a bit
I don't think there's a Butcher
here.
and Bee in Charleston
You don't
anymore.
think there is?
No, I went to Charleston a few weeks ago and I looked for Butcher and Bee, unless I don't know how to Google search correctly.
Well, and that could be going on here, but let me just think. There is a really great answer brewing inside of me.
So at some point in this interview, then, just shout it out.
Yes.
That's what
it's in the middle of any other question.
That's what I'm going to do. And I mean, I feel like I'm letting myself down right now because I eat a lot.
But this means you have a lot of places you like.
I love food, and I should have a go-to. Maybe it's because I love food. I don't have a go-to. But, oh my goodness, I will just scream and say it.
Deal. That's going to happen. You permission. Okay. I'm going to be looking for it.
Okay.
All right, 2 softballs to start. First job you were ever paid for, first activity you ever paid for, and first time you realized you were a leader. What were those moments?
First job I was ever paid for, I was a certified sandwich artist at Subway. Oh, yes. And I want to tell you this.
Is that a term?
I will. Oh, yeah. It's real. Oh, yeah. Certified sandwich artist. And actually, it's going to be my answer to your second question, too. Because, so I was like, absolutely, like, my parents were like, I was playing basketball, it was high school. They're like, but you got to have a job. And so with basketball, I could really only work on the weekends. I'm not sure if this was in violation of like some child labor law. Like, surely there's a statute of limitations. I'm 47, so it's fine. But we had a drive-through. We took call-in orders, and you could come in and order. And like, there were times I worked by myself. And so you just have to make decisions. When you're doing that, you got to decide like what comes first.
Yeah.
That's when I knew I was a leader. Everything didn't get done, but I tried to figure out how to divide my time. It was awesome. I learned so much.
I love that. So today you're leading the athletics program at Vanderbilt. Iconic. I told you earlier, Coach Clark has been on this podcast, and we got to learn a lot about him, a lot about the school. But this is a special institution because it's academically excellent. And I'd say there's probably some who maybe believed Vanderbilt had an athletic ceiling. You've come in and said, no way, we don't have a ceiling. We can keep pursuing. Like, where did that belief come from? Because this program has had a lot of success in recent years.
No, I appreciate that. Thank you. You know, I played basketball at Vanderbilt, and I remember even as a teenager, I was 17 when I got there. The women's basketball team was good. I think we can all agree that there was not this reputation across the entire department that, you know, we excel in athletics. I remember, though, just from my experience in isolation within the women's basketball program, like I felt really strongly about the experience that I had and that we had. I also knew, you know, just from so I graduated, I go through grad school, you know, I start working in the department. It was not because we didn't have talent. Right. It wasn't that. And this is really important to me because as an alum, I feel like I speak on behalf of all alumni who are really excited and celebrating today. But it wasn't that we didn't have talent, you know, but it takes more than talent. Like you have to have infrastructure. You have to have people who are willing to unlock resources. You have to have people who are willing to have vision before you have proof in the pudding, you know, before you have proof of concept. I definitely could not have guaranteed you that we'll be undefeated at home in football, women's basketball, or we're going to win X number of games. I knew, though, that there were people who cared enough and were talented enough that if you just gave us an opportunity, that really good things could happen. And so when I got the job 6 years ago, you know, I think Coach Lee, I know you all have had Coach Lee on before, and I think Coach Lee would agree with this. Like when you're an alum, the stakes are higher for you.
For sure.
Right? It runs deeper. People have different expectations of you. You have different expectations of yourself because you care so deeply about the place, right? We just needed an opportunity. And I was willing, as long as I felt like I had the support, and our chancellor has been incredibly supportive. And he's an important part of our success story. But I felt like the vision was clear. We needed to have the courage and the resilience to fight through decades of neglect and decades of underinvestment and decades of inconsistent performance. And that's not to take away, because I think my predecessors wanted the same thing that we're experiencing now. It's just that everybody's context is different. So it's really a blessing because, well, in my mind, you got to have a little divine intervention. You got to have some luck, some hard work. But if you give talented people a chance, you create conditions for their success, I think more often than not, you're going to be pleased with the results. Even if the results aren't what you want, you can live with the outcome if you've done everything you can to encourage people reaching their potential. If we do that, I think we're going to have more happy days than not.
So what does that mean in practice? Like, how do you encourage people to live out their potential? What does that look like?
Yeah. So for me, it is one, building trust. Like, I think the relationships and getting people to believe in themselves and believe in you, I think it's a really important part of great results. I think that the courage piece, the courage piece is about staying committed to something, even if other people don't believe it or see it. You have to be that. You had to be that way at Vanderbilt a few years ago, because we're telling people we're going to compete and win at the highest level, and they had not seen that across the board. And so part of that is believing in the vision and actually trying to operationalize it, even when the results haven't caught up yet. I think an example, again, just going back to Coach Lee, because I know that you all have talked to him. Coach Lee went 2-10 twice before we had a winning season. 2 and 10 years were hard, but I believed in him and where we were going. I want the folks that I'm responsible for and responsible to know that I'm going to lock arms with them. I'm going to try to see around the corner and remove impediments. And then we're going to together get to the other side. And getting to the other side, though, there are some hard days in that. So that's what it's hard days. Like if you want to help people reach their potential, then you got to help them develop their own self-awareness, and you got to let them fail. And you got to encourage them to take risks, and you have to be honest in your communication. You also have to let them tell you, right? So you also have to receive feedback. You have to be willing to not reinvent yourself, like forget who you are, but you do have to be willing to adjust and update your thinking. And like my friend Nina King, she says, she reserves the right to get smarter. So you got to be willing to get smarter. We have had some tough days, but I think the people at Vanderbilt, like I will run through a wall for them. And I think that they'll do the same for me. And I think like when you have that kind of sentiment brewing and it becomes part of your DNA, it helps people reach their potential.
Candice, on that note, so when there are tough days, you see leaders sometimes go different routes, right? Sometimes they're encouraging and almost like making it seem like the tough day wasn't as tough as it was. You've got others where like they make people sit in it and feel it. Like, what have you found works best to keep a team rowing in the right direction after tough days? Like acknowledging it, sitting in it, or hey, I believe in you, keep going forward. We're going to lose some more, but we're doing the right things. It's hard sometimes in those moments to know what to do.
I'm more inclined to do the latter, like to be encouraging, but I think as a leader, like you have to be honest. So we're going to be honest about our challenges. I don't pretend it's easy. Like that's not going to help anybody. But I do think that it's really important to try to keep people inspired. These jobs are hard. They're hard, and you're doing it in a fishbowl, and everybody thinks that they know better than you. The most important thing is that those of us who are in it, we know. And the biggest thing for me is I just try to be consistent. So I'm going to always be more encouraging than not. I mean, and I think it's the job of the leader to absorb as much as possible. I'm not here to be a martyr, but I am here. It's part of the burden / responsibility / privilege of leadership is that if I have to be the one to hold it for us, I can't hold it all by myself. I've learned that, but I should hold most of it. And then that frees people up to keep doing their very best. And I think that that's a part of being a leader.
I think I've seen when surrounded by high performers, they know when it wasn't good enough, right? They don't always have to be forced to sit in it from leadership because they already know when they're taking it on. Right. So they can appreciate the leader saying, hey guys, it was a tough loss. We got this. Like we're doing the right things, but we got this. Yes. If the team's not high performing, a little bit of self-awareness might have to be infused into them.
I think that's right.
How much do you feel like you had to change about Vanderbilt? You've talked about what you knew was there, but were there adaptations you put into play that you feel led to downstream, really positive effects?
Yeah, I mean, there were all kinds of things, I think, even from a systems and a process standpoint that we changed or adjusted, and we still are, right? Because it's still a work in progress. I would tell you, I think the biggest thing, the biggest change that had to be made was in the way that we saw ourselves. So internal narrative, before you began to talk about externally how you want people to perceive you, then you got to make sure that internally, the language that you're using, the things that you tolerate, the things that you are celebrating, that had to change. That had to change. And again, it wasn't like, I don't want to disrespect previous successes because it was not all broken. It was not, but a narrative can get away from you really quickly. And rarely are narratives like 100% accurate. Right. But, we had developed, unfairly, I would say, for the most part, we had developed a reputation that we were going to prioritize academics over athletics. And instead, it was almost like an or thing. And I'm trying to tell the people within and the people around us it's an and thing. So by investing in athletics, that doesn't mean that we're disrespecting academics. In fact, one should reinforce the other. And we got to be okay with that. I think athletics is an area that's easy to misunderstand. We had to almost start from scratch in some ways in terms of even teaching people within how to talk about us. That was hard. that was hard, but I do think it was a really, really important step.
The power of high academic achievement, it can be a superpower, right? We've seen that at times at your Stanford, certainly across many sports, but even in the football, basketball world, Northwestern, Vanderbilt. Is there something about those schools where that is a superpower that you tap into? Or is it something that you manage because it just asks a lot extra than maybe other schools do of your student athletes?
So I look at it as a superpower. I remember, I think it was my first year, and I was doing like a presentation to our trustees. And I think I said, if I told you, I'd love for you to invest in this.
Did they give you the squeaky chair?
No, it does. I can hear you squeaking. I can hear you squeaking.
I can't tell you.
If there's a mouse, this podcast is going to be over so quick. If I see a mouse, I'm out of here.
So we both tested that seat before you got here.
And you gave it to me, didn't you?
Yeah, so congratulations.
That makes a lot of sense.
Thanks for showing up on time, Chris.
Now, I know. Well, next time. So anyway, you cut her off. That's the board.
That's so funny. So I was talking to our trustees, and I said, at some point I said, if I said I've got this great thing that I want you to invest in, and this athletics department is going to compete at the highest level in the SEC. We're going to be at a top 15 institution in the world. We're going to be in arguably the hottest city in the world. We've got people who love what they do and are supremely talented and great sense of community and high integrity. Don't you want to be a part of this? Everybody's like, yeah. And so I say that just to say that not only do we not lament about the high academic, we love it. So I'm a 3-time Vanderbilt grad. I'm very proud of the academic reputation. I'm proud of it. It's Vanderbilt. Like, how can you not be? How can you not be? Like when recruits sometimes come on, every now and then you'll get a recruits like, they're being recruited by ABC school, and they're like, and some of my friends or my coach or whoever said like, but it's really hard there. You sure you want to go? School's really hard. I'm like, well, I think they're calling you dumb. Well, what do you mean? And I also believe that chances are those people never had a chance to go to Vanderbilt. And that's usually the case. And so I don't know why we would act like high academics or academic rigor is a negative thing. Of course I'm biased, but I think it's hard not to cheer for us. Right? Kids these kids, they go to class, they are in person, they are busting their butt amongst the best and the brightest in the world. They're competing in the SEC. We hold them to very high standards. They're great young people. Like, I don't know how you don't cheer for that. I do think that, to your point, there's that squeaking again. Yeah. to your point about the academic reputation, I do think that it attracts a certain type of person, right? Who wants that? And you got to want that. You got to want to compete in every facet, or else Vanderbilt is not going to be the best experience for you.
And you're making a great point. I've been hiring for 25 years, and before sport, I got to work with organizations like Procter & Gamble and Progressive Insurance and Michelin and Home Depot. And many of these organizations cared where someone went to school, even if it were 15, 20 years later, because to them, there was a qualification process to have gotten accepted into that school, and a belief that that school delivered on a certain level of product and graduate. And never once did they say, what quality of athlete were you when you were a student athlete? They cared that you were a student athlete, and they cared you went to a great program, but they're not going and saying, so how fast did you run the 200 when you were on the track team in 1996?
That's right.
So I think it's important for athletes who are academically very strong to have that as part of their calculus where they're saying, where am I going? Like,
that's right.
The athletics is going to help you for a handful of years, maybe more if you go professionally. The academics can help you the rest of your life.
For the rest of your life. That's right.
That matters.
So here's an important question, though. In the readily transferring world we live in, I could see either that superpower being, something that is, I don't know, lost maybe in all the transferring, or maybe it is that much more powerful because student athletes say, I'm not letting go of this degree. It's too valuable. I can't just go to ABC school because I can't replicate that at ABC school. Which of those or in between do you see it
probably in between. And I mean, you know, there's the industry, the state of the industry at the moment. You know, I think young people are making decisions on where to attend for all kinds of reasons, right? And we know there are certain just table stakes you have to have, right? You have to have NIL, you have to have facilities, you have to have... There may be all kinds of reasons why people are deciding. I still contend that if you have the table stakes, I think things like the academic reputation, the culture that we're building, I think those things still matter, right? But you've got to make sure that you're taking care of the things that you got to check certain boxes to show that you're serious about competing in every way. But I still believe it matters.
Yeah, I think so too.
So where does Vanderbilt refuse to compromise then?
This is a great question.
Yeah.
You know, in modern day college athletics, like you have to support young people in building their brands and allowing them to monetize their name, image, and likeness. And we're going to do those things. We're going to provide appropriate facilities, right, that are commensurate with the success that we want. But we're not going to compromise when it comes to just integrity. We're always going to tell the truth. We have to move a lot faster now. So the transfer portal gives you the opportunity to get into recruiting with young people very quickly now, and you have to make decisions very quickly. But it doesn't mean that you compromise on your values. It means that you have to be a little hastier in your evaluation. You have to be still intentional. You just have to do it quicker. You have to do it quicker. Doing it quicker is not to be confused with cutting corners. We're really clear on that at Vanderbilt. We're really clear on that. So character still matters. Who you are and how you represent us still matters. And unfortunately, you know, every now and then, like young people fall short of that. Fortunately, they don't typically fall short to the point where you have to sort of terminate the relationship. But if it comes to that, then we'll do that because the values are first and foremost.
Quick interruption. If you are enjoying the Excellent Leadership Podcast, I have a small favor to ask you. Could you please take a moment to like, subscribe, and leave a 5-star review? It helps us grow the Excellent Leadership Podcast community and ensures we keep bringing you top-tier guests, powerful insights, and impactful episodes. Thanks for your support. Now, back to the show. I'm going to take compromise to a different topic.
Yeah.
Business leaders.
Yeah.
I see a lot of organizations get in trouble when they try to become something they're not. As a business leader, sometimes you get tempted to change just because you see your competition change.
Right.
Like, wait, was I supposed to do that? Why are they doing that? I thought we had established rules of the game. I didn't know that was even an option. How do you, as you lead an organization, know like where to look adjacent and maybe pivot and follow others versus say, nope, I'm steadfast. I know this is where we're going and we're going to hold true with where we're going. I mean, coaches are sometimes that example too, right? You go 2-10, it's steadfast to say, I believe in this.
Yes.
Help me understand that as a leader.
You know, I think it's always important to try to learn from your peers or understand what they're doing. But we still have to remember that context matters on everything. And like, we can't just copy. We can't just be copycats. I mean, I probably couldn't be a copycat on a lot of things, even if I want to, because it just might not work that way at Vanderbilt, right? It may not be the best fit. But I do think that it's one of the things that has changed for us. So I think that early on, we might have been looking at our peers saying, oh my gosh, if we have to do it exactly like they're doing it, like we're not going to be able to, so we just sort of wash our hands of it. As opposed to, let's understand what other people are doing, let's figure out what the end goal is, and then let's pursue the avenue that is going to fit best for Vanderbilt. So I think the biggest thing is, like, I want to win. Right? We're here to compete and win at the highest level. I want to win. I want to generate revenue. I want Vanderbilt Athletics to be a household name. There's some very clear things that I want to do. I have to be willing to, in my mind, get to the outcome that we want, but in a way that it actually fits Vanderbilt, and have the courage to do that. And so sometimes it's going to look a little different. And so, you know, we sit in the SEC, like you look at our football stadium, for example, we seat 30,000. I mean, gosh, the next lowest in our conference is probably 65 or 70. It is the most unique venue, but it fits who we are. We can create a home field advantage with that, right? We can do all kinds of things. It's not going to look like other people in the SEC. But you know what will look like other people in the SEC? The talent that we're going to put on that field. I feel good about that. I would be dishonest if I said that, like, I woke up feeling that way, like at the very beginning. It wasn't like that. Like, I had to understand that we have to do it our way. And that doesn't mean that some of the things that we do aren't similar to what other schools do. But, you know, I want to give credit to our chancellor for this, because he encourages us, when you think best in class, don't just think best in the class of people that you know. If you're talking about hospitality at your football stadium, no offense to anybody in the SEC, but don't just go down the street and see what they're doing. Take a look at what the Titans are doing right there in our city. Or what are the Nashville Predators doing? Or what can we learn from the Masters? We went to the Masters because Gordon Sargent was competing in the Masters a few years ago. And we learned so much about customer service. And we just learned so much. And so how do you go look at the best of the best, even outside of your particular industry, and apply it, and apply it in a way that is uniquely Vanderbilt? So sometimes it looks like other people, but sometimes it doesn't. And you got to be okay with that. I have to work my way through that. You're right with coaches. Coaches tend to just talk to other coaches and want what they have. I want our coaches to feel like, oh no, we have what we need. Even if it does look a little different. I think ultimately, as long as coaches feel like they have what they need to succeed at the highest level, they're okay with it looking different. Where they're not okay is if we look different just for the sake of being different, or we're trying to be cute, or we're trying to be gimmicky. I don't have any interest in that. I want to do what is most effective for us.
One of the spaces you're leading and have in just the very most recent year to 2 years is on the commercial side. You've gotten aggressive there, and not just leading, you know, in the SEC, leading nationally in that space, which has really been fun to watch. And I think, not that people wouldn't see it coming, but I think they think, okay, well, the big schools are where all the money gets made, and maybe the sophistication around revenue comes from. Vanderbilt's showing otherwise. Talk about that journey and how you've brought that into in-house for you all.
You know, when you're the athletic director, you get a lot of credit for a lot of things, and I appreciate that. But we've got an incredible team, and that team is not just within the athletics department, it's within the university, and it starts at the very top. And so just from a commercial standpoint, one of the things we did as a university, we created a new entity called Vanderbilt Enterprises. I have an incredible partner in the CEO of Vanderbilt Enterprises. His name is Marcus Schreier. And, you know, what he represents, right, it also is this acknowledgement that in higher ed, we have to pay more attention to the commercial aspect because it's so new for universities. And Vanderbilt is trying to be different all the way around. You know, the cool part is that the story of this evolution of Vanderbilt athletics is really an evolution of Vanderbilt University, of which athletics is an important part of core. That's so important to think of it that way, because we have so much talent that we can bring to bear at our university. And so we across the board have been really much more intentional about bringing in like different domain expertise and different business acumen. And for example, again, my partner, Marcus Schreier, who's the CEO of Vanderbilt Enterprises. So think about him as the person who is handling all commercial activity across the university. His background is in innovation and global hospitality. I tell you, if you bring innovation, global hospitality, athletics, I mean, you can do some pretty powerful stuff. And so I think Vanderbilt is just trying to, one, take advantage of this trajectory that we're on and the momentum, but two, create something sustainable so that, and I say this all the time, I mean, the idea is for all of this to outlive and outlast all of us. That's the goal. Yeah. So that's what we're trying to do.
Very, very cool, very exciting. And for those who haven't checked out everything Candice is talking about, highly recommend it because there's a lot to learn from.
Yeah, thank you.
Candice, you have such an awesome just persona and energy. How do you maintain that when times are sometimes tough or when you have to be giving to others? Because when you have a great personality like yours, I imagine a lot of people expect you to be the giver of the energy and the relationship. But sometimes you need your cup filled. Like, how do you do this? How do you navigate it?
It's so interesting because I one of the aha moments that I had early on in this AD role is that it was I feel like, I still feel this way, that it's my job to fill up everyone else's cup. If I expect them to fill my cup, the dynamics are going to get a little wonky. I do get my cup filled by my team, but I don't come in expecting that. And I think it's really important. And so then how do you get your cup filled? So besides my team filling my cup, I've tried really, really hard, just to back up for a second, just from a background standpoint. So my dad's a retired lieutenant colonel in the Army, and my mom is a retired public affairs officer for NASA. My parents are amazing. My mom is not 70 yet. My dad is over 70. They're both from Alabama, Black Americans from Alabama who have accomplished so much. I know that I get to sit in this space and in a role that when it was created, it definitely didn't think of Candice Storey Lee in the role, right? I sit around tables all the time with people that don't look like me or hadn't contemplated me being at that table. And if there's going to be other people like that at the table, there's just some stuff I'm going to have to withstand. I am willing to do that, to open up doors, because I think about, my grandfather passed away during COVID. I learned so many things from him growing up in Alabama and the way that he was treated. And I've listened to some stories from my parents, and this is like not that long ago. On the days that seem really hard for me, I'm like, oh man, I got to go to Vanderbilt, and I get to do things to ensure that there are other people that get to go to Vanderbilt or wherever. That's pretty tremendous. But with that comes like some resilience, some courage. I just try to keep the main thing, because if you allow your energy to because there's a lot of things pulling at us constantly. I try to just keep perspective. And that has helped me so much. We talked about the knee surgeries early. I used to go do PT across, we have an awesome medical center, a world-class medical center. And I used to go over there to do PT, and I remember feeling very sorry for myself one day. Just was hurting, my knee was swollen, and a woman came in and she was a double amputee and she was a veteran. I made the choice that day that I was gonna commit to physical therapy, and even when I wanted to complain, I wasn't gonna complain. Have not still do physical therapy. Have not complained since that day. Haven't loved it, but haven't complained. And just perspective. I tell our staff, you chose Vanderbilt. You are not a hostage. Nobody is making you be here. We got a finite period of time to try to do some impactful work. So that gives me energy. It's not easy. I have an awesome husband. When we bought our house, I was like, if this porch was screened in, I'd spend all my time here, And okay. So then he screened in the porch, and then he's like, what are you doing?
Yeah, why are you
never
here?
Sit out here. How come you're not? And so I try to get some just, quiet time and enjoy the screened in porch. And I just try to keep perspective. My faith is really important to me. And I just try to do the things that are going to give me energy, because as soon as I leave that house, it belongs to someone else. The energy belongs to other people. But that's part of the privilege of being a leader.
What does your morning routine look like to then prepare for a day?
I'm going to read a devotional of some kind. They're sort of spread out all over the house, of some kind. I really love music, so I'm going to need some music in my life. And it's going to have to involve some singing. That could be in the shower. That might be in the car. I'm not a good singer.
What are you singing to these days?
Listen, anything on Sirius XM 47, 48, 49, 50, or 51, which 51 is like the groove station, which is supposed to be like old school, but they're playing stuff from like the 2000s, which just lets me know we're getting
I love that you're dropping Sirius XM right now, because so many of us just get stuck in our Spotify playlist of 9 songs. You have multiple stations.
Don't do it. I got in an Uber the other day, and they were playing Yacht Rock. Oh, Yacht Rock.
What is Yacht Rock?
All the fantastic jams.
I was going to say all the good stuff.
That's all you need. That's all you need.
Oh, nice.
Michael McDonald, and I'm like, what? It's fantastic. Yes. Elton John. So I got that on my favorites list too. So there's usually going to be some music in my office. So I've got these different playlists, and Alexa's playing it in the back, and I don't know. I don't know what the staff thinks, because some days they come in and it's like smooth jazz. They're like, she's in that kind of mood today. Then some days they come in and it's like rap, but and not the explicit. No, clean versions of all kinds of things. They're like, what kind of day is this? But music is really important to me, and I usually talk to my parents in the morning.
Do you?
And I usually call them on the way to the office.
Either of them still working, or have
they're
they hung
both
up their
retired.
boots?
So they'll answer the phone anytime you call, because they're just chilling. Well-earned retirements. And I used to talk to my grandfather driving in. And I said, he passed in 2020, but it's kind of a cool way to start the day. Like just being centered. Yeah. And my husband is like the very best in the world at pep talks, the very best. And he seems to know kind of when I need one. He is awesome. And so that's how I start off. It's been helpful to me.
Starting with faith and family is a good grounding.
That's right.
Before entering
what
sometimes is a battlefield in an office environment.
Sometimes it is. Yeah. With a great cup of coffee, of course. For sure.
So how do you keep control of your calendar? Because I'm sure everybody wants a little bit of time on Candice's calendar. How do you balance what fire needs your attention versus what strategic item needs your focus?
I could have answered the earlier question about a leadership habit that I'm working on. This is another one. I mean, I could have said this because this is something where I have gotten better, but it still needs some work. So my assistant, her name is Angie, and Angie will say, she'll say, she said to me the other day, she said, you put a comma where there should be a period. And I was like, well, that's very profound. But also she's like, yeah, girl, sometimes it's just no. It's just period. And you're like, well, I'm going to try. So we've got this thing where I'm trying to kick everything to her. I'm a work in progress on this for sure. But I'm trying to, between Angie and then between Trace, who's my chief of staff, like I'm trying to get out of the way of the calendar because I am messing it up. I'm messing it up, trying to do too many things and allow them to help me protect my time. Often I need to be protected from me. That is because I always feel like you can squeeze one more thing in. Yeah, sure. Just come on over and come. All of a sudden, 10 hours have gone, it's the end of the day. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I need help in this. I need help. This is an area where I've had to delegate and be okay. And I don't have a problem with delegating. I think the calendar was challenging for me because I just felt like you had to say yes to everything. I think especially as an alum, alumni believe that too, that they should have your time and they should. And my husband always says, well, everybody thinks, but I just got this one thing, or can I have this one meeting, or can I have 15 minutes of your time? It's just 15 minutes. And he's like, but they're just thinking from their perspective, you've gotten 80 of those.
Yeah.
I sort of submit to the fact that I can't manage it by myself. I don't do a good job of it. And so Angie and Trace, they got it. That may be the smartest thing I've done in 6 years.
Yeah. I have a CEO friend of mine who schedules like a 4-hour block once a month called Open Office. And he's like, anybody can just come in here and talk to me about any topic they want to talk about.
Yes, that is.
And for a while he had extended to fans. And at some point he's like, I can't do this. I can't have the fans coming in. But he had a while. I was like, some of them just wanted to criticize me on a trade that I made. Some of them just wanted to know that their seat was squeaky, like whatever it might be.
Whatever it was. Well, at the beginning, 6 years ago, any fan that reached out, I'd be like, let's go to Starbucks. Because I want to hear, I'd love to hear like your Vanderbilt origin story. And I'd love any feedback. Yeah, I went to Starbucks with so many people. I just like whoever, you could just reach out to me. And I went, now, I don't regret that because I learned so much.
Yeah.
And I forged some really important relationships. But I have to be so thoughtful. My executive coach has helped to challenge me, like, but what's the highest and best use of your time? Probably, arguably, at that point, that was the highest and best use of my time when I was at all those coffees. Because just, you're trying to change a narrative, right? And you're trying to show people that, no, what you think, no, we can do the impossible. It seems impossible to you, we can do it. But I'm having to like ask myself that question now. right? What's the highest and best use? It's not a problem asking. It's actually the problem is me sticking to what I say.
You referred to the staff a number of times, and every leader, great leader that we end up talking to, they often do. But has there been any unique sort of core features to the staff you've assembled at Vanderbilt? Are there key characteristics that you believe staff need to bring with them to be successful under your leadership or at that university?
Yeah, no, it's a good question. I mean, certainly for us, I'm sure a lot of people say this, but if you don't collaborate well, we're not going to be a good place for you, because we are sort of wired to work across lanes. That's just what we do. So if you are uber sensitive, we're not going to be a great place for you. And if you don't play well with others, we're not going to be a great place for you. I have invested heavily in executive coaching for many of our head coaches, as well as our senior staff, because one, it's a gift that I didn't even know existed until 6 years ago. And I wish that early in my career, I would have known that. The mindset shifts that can happen and the self-awareness, it is truly such an incredible gift. High self-awareness is something that I deeply value. I also want people, I think if you need to have confidence. We got to have ego, Now, my executive coach tells me to do these jobs, you better have big ego, but it needs to be big, healthy ego, So I'm looking for people with big, healthy ego. But the strong sense of self is really important because I don't want people around me who are just going to say what they think you want to hear. That is not going to help me when I'm in these trenches trying to lead. I want people that are going to tell me the truth. We're going to always be respectful, but I really want to know what you think when I say it. I really I really mean that. And so I think that that's important. So you got to know what you believe, right? But also that, like we talked earlier, that willingness to change your mind and the humility to learn, that's really important. I think I've just described our team. I mean, I think certainly what we're striving to be. And just, of course, good humans, good humans who are deeply committed to this enterprise. And it is noble work. It's getting lost sometimes, but it's really noble work. And people who deeply believe in that, And then finally, if you, like I said earlier, if you're a little sensitive, but you got to have a great sense of humor to work with. We laugh a lot, and we're serious about our work, but we do not take ourselves too serious. So if you're a little too precious, that's going to be tough because everything's sort of on the table to be with love, joked around about or teased at or whatever. But and I think it's so important, right, to approach the job with joy.
It's a challenging time. We all acknowledge that in college athletics. There's a lot to be worked through and whatnot. If the glass, I hear this a lot, if the glass isn't half full for you right now, college athletics may be a tough place for you. It seems like you're expressing the same about working at Vanderbilt. We need glass half full people.
Otherwise, I don't know how you do this, right? Because right now it feels like we're just being reactive to so many things. It feels, if you're not careful, it just feels like it's spiraling and there are things outside of your control. But there are so many things that are within our control still. And we're going to have to make some pivots. We're going to have to think differently. We're going to have to, but at the end of the day, we're just creating opportunities for young people. If you can't get excited about that, then you're doing the wrong thing. You're in the wrong place,
So on that note, there's a lot of people who are optimistic, glass half full. We fall in love with them in an interview, but they're not always ballers. How do you make sure that person's also a baller, that they're just going to crush the job and work hard? I'm going to kind of continue on what you were saying. I like that you said healthy ego, because I don't think you really want low ego. You want healthy ego.
You want healthy ego. Yeah. I mean, it's the competitiveness, right? No, and I hear you. I am not looking for, because the optimism is important, but that's more about attitude. If you can't handle those X's and O's though, that X's and O's for coaches, but if you don't have domain expertise, we got to have that. I think I am looking for people who are supremely talented and who know they're good. Now, they want to learn. And they can't be assholes. Can you say that on the podcast?
For sure.
That's important. So we don't,
I
big
squeaked right as you did to block it out.
Thank you. So, but this is important because we don't want divas.
Yeah.
Right? We don't want, I want people who are good teammates. But if you're going to be a great teammate, you got to know your role and be really good at your role. really good at it. That's part of being a good teammate too. That's like people who are like, we have the best student athlete experience, but they never win. Not true. If it's not a great student athlete experience if you don't win, it's just not.
Yeah.
That's not the only thing, but like you want to win too. I mean, that's part of it.
Yeah.
That chair is really something.
It's a squeaky chair. I mean, just show up early next time.
I'm
and you can
gonna
choose your own
try.
chair.
I promise.
This is what happens. This is called consequences.
Yeah, well,
Chris, we're sorry. We apologize. We'll get you a different one next time.
I'm trying to keep my healthy ego over here.
That's
You're
what
raining
you're
on my
trying to do.
parade.
That's what you're trying to do.
So I love that you brought up that you have an executive coach. You invest into executive coaches for your team. I think that is such a undervalued, underutilized, probably better word, resource.
Yes.
How do you get that started with an organization? How do you tell one of your executives, I believe in you, which is why I'm getting you a coach, not I don't believe in you, I'm trying to fix you. Like, walk us through implementing executive coaching into an organization.
I could not agree with you more that I think it is vastly underutilized, but I think there's just not a lot of awareness about why it is valuable. And I didn't know about executive coaching. All of my fellow vice chancellors have executive coaches, and our chancellor has 3 executive coaches. And he says all the time, he says, I have 3. So he starts off this way. First day on the job, he's like, I have 3 executive coaches. And he said, even Federer needs a coach. Like, we laugh about that, but there's the mentality about it is that it's going to take me from A to A+, right? So this is how we talk about it. I want, and now listen, I try to demonstrate that I have executive coaches. I have people meet my executive coaches so that they just know who they are. I mean, you can give them feedback. You can, head coaches, senior staff, make no mistake about it. Some people are resistant because some people think it's like, you're telling me I'm not good enough, or you're telling me, I mean, I can only think of maybe one instance where I've assigned someone to an executive coach because we had a performance issue. I think only one time. I'm like, no, you're going to develop some awareness and some tools that are going to serve you the rest of your life, but they are also, of course, going to serve Vanderbilt, right? And so for your professional development and our benefit, but for your personal development, like, this is well worth it. And I think you have to meet people where they are. That's really, really important. Some people are not quite ready, or they don't quite understand. And that's the biggest thing. I mean, I tell our folks, if we're going to invest in it, and you're not going to waste this. So you do have to be ready for it. But I want people to see that it's going to enable us to actually reach our potential. That's what we say we're trying to do, right? We're trying to optimize. And I had no idea before 6 years ago that this was a thing that existed. No clue. And a good friend of mine who was a CEO, and she said, right when I got the job, it was probably the day after I got the job, she called me and just said, I've got like a gift for you. I want to introduce you to someone because I just think, Candice, as people are transitioning into new executive roles, this is so beneficial. And she shared her story with me. There's such vulnerability around it, which is why some people aren't willing to do it. But it has been such a game changer. When I first sat down I work with 2 different executive coaches, but when I first sat down with one of them, she said, I'm not your therapist and I'm not your mama. And I thought, that's beautiful. That I got a mama, and off and on I have a good therapist. I don't need that. I do understand. And, she just saying it that way, it crystallized for me why this is so important. And so, I've always found, especially with coaches, if coaches would, we always want so much of athletes, but then we don't always do apply the same standard to ourselves. And you tell these kids to practice and they go out there and stretch themselves to be the best. This is what an executive coach will do for you. It's been incredible. And I'm actually kind of blown away that more people aren't doing it. It's been really important for us.
Yeah, when you think about athletes, you're training every day to occasionally play a game.
Right.
But you're constantly training for this moment. At some point, you enter a career and you're just game professionally.
That's really well said.
And not actually saying, well, actually, I need to practice. To be of highest impact during this game. Scrimmaging is not worth as much.
That's right.
As actually learning along the way.
That's right. That's good. That's a good analogy. I like that. Yep. I like that.
Well, we would be remiss if we didn't acknowledge that we are sitting with the SBJ Athletic Director of the Year.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Very fortunate to be sitting here that way.
Do you get to choose a song when they
Like a walk-up
announce
song?
you?
No.
See, 40 under 40, you get to choose a song.
Man, see? No.
It's not the same.
It's not the same.
Yeah, that's amazing. What an accomplishment.
Yes.
Thank you.
So the greatest of congratulations, but what did it mean to be up there as you look out on the crowd and you're kind of like, okay, for this moment, just if this moment only, I've made it a little bit, right? And what was going through your head as you thought about that?
A few different things. One, it was so important to me that it was the Sports Business Journal because I think at a time where athletic directors are under fire and everybody is challenging everybody to, you got to think differently, you got to adjust, you got to learn new skills, you got to, you do have to kind of reinvent yourself a bit, right? And so for me standing up there, I thought, okay,
Yeah.
I've leaned into the discomfort and I've leaned into the fact that the rules of engagement are constantly changing. And I've leaned into all that, and it felt like I don't know, it sort of affirmed that, and by no stretch, like I'm not even wired to even really think about it anymore. It was like right away, it's like, we got to go to the next thing. And I really just wanted to celebrate our team and celebrate our coaches. I mean, you don't get to be the AD of the year if your teams aren't winning, if your student athletes aren't excelling. I mean, I know that you get to stand out front as the AD, but that's not, that award belongs to everybody who also has supported me, everybody who I've supported. And I'm really grateful. I mean, I just think it was also, people keep saying to me, do you realize how much Vanderbilt athletics has changed? I do, but do you actually realize how much it's changed? It's not that I don't realize it. It's just that I'm sort of wired to not get comfortable because you never know what's around the corner. So I don't think like that. But in that moment when I was standing up there and also just thinking about the people who've gotten the award before, the other contenders, which are all well deserving, you think, man, what a blessing. Yeah. Honestly, all I kept thinking was, what a blessing. And I was so happy for our team.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
For sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, very special. It doesn't happen every day, and it doesn't happen every day on this podcast that we have the AD of the year.
The AD.
Pretty sure the first time. So.
It's true. You've mentored a lot of people. What leadership advice do you see yourself giving most commonly to people these days?
Ooh, most commonly these days. I mean, I was just, on a panel and we were talking about the way the industry's changing, just how rapid everything is. And I said that the most important thing, you have to keep an open mind. And this is hard. This is hard for, all of us who are highly competent and think that we know. And
thank you for saying us with that.
All of us.
Thank you. That's probably the nicest compliment I've gotten today.
Yeah. You're welcome. Yeah. You're welcome.
Yeah.
I tell people all the time to be curious and not to be judgmental. Ask questions instead of quickly converging on a position. This is really important. And I think that, it is hard being a leader. And it's hard, like the self-awareness required to lead, I think is, like, we're not talking enough about how, at the crux of leadership is like being the healthiest version of yourself. And so much of the frustrations that we have, in my experience, often the frustrations are tied to some type of insecurity that you have, or some narrative that's no longer serving you that you're holding on to, especially when I'm talking to like young women, And the reality is that, man, like there's room for everybody. There's a place. You might have to get your feelings hurt a little bit. You might have to take some harsh feedback. You might have to rethink some things, but you can always bounce back from that. And right now, we're all sort of feeling like we're taking hits left and right. And if you internalize that, you begin to question like your value. You can't do that. You can't do that. If ever there was a time for the healthy ego, it's right now. And I feel like I've been having a lot of conversations about that.
What do emerging leaders underestimate when stepping up into that role?
You're going to always have more information than other people. You'll never be able to share all of it. And you got to be okay with that. You'll never, ever be able to, and I think a lot of emerging leaders don't understand, right? So they think they're going to make a decision. If I just sit down and explain it to you and everybody's going to be happy. And I mean, people are never always happy. Another thing that I've learned, you think that because you are the boss, that you then can control everything that happens. And you realize the higher up you go, the less control you actually have. You just have all the responsibility. And that is true, but challenging to reconcile. But it's true, No matter how busy, I get, just showing up for people, it will still be like the most important thing you can do. You should never get too busy for that. Because, it pays like incredible dividends. Oh man, but that's a great question. I mean, I didn't even think of the restaurant yet. So
I was gonna call you out for that.
I figured you would. I mean,
because we've got like 3 minutes left.
And there are so many places that I really love to eat. I mean, goodness gracious, right now.
Yeah.
I wish I remembered where I ate last time I was there. I'm gonna look it up. I'm gonna find it. It's just gonna be in the comments. It's just buried in there.
That's so funny.
It's a great food scene. That's the reason you're struggling to find one.
It's a great food. It really is. And oh my goodness.
All right, one final question for you.
Okay.
I'm going to ask an opposite question of what you're always asked.
Okay.
You're always asked, what advice would you give to your younger self? But you were a smart younger self. What advice would your younger self give to you right now?
I tragically lost my best friend after she gave birth. In 2017. I think my younger self would tell me that as busy, because I've always been like, I'm going to get a doctorate, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to do that. I think my younger self would just tell me truly like slow down and value relationships and would remind me to do that. And I have really good relationships and I have really good, but when you lose your best friend, my younger self would say like, just don't take the time for granted, And that's a beautiful question. It's a beautiful question. I love that.
I think it's easy as we grow in our careers to become really efficient and sometimes lose some of the empathy and heart that we might have had earlier in our careers, right?
We can't do that.
And when we're younger, we're probably like, hey, I'm not going to be the jerk boss. I'm always going to have time for my team. I'm going to be a really available and present dad, whatever.
Right.
And then you get into life and this is actually really hard.
And it's really hard and you get all
and
caught up in all the things, but so many of the things are not important.
Yeah.
They take up a lot of time, but they're not important, and it's a really good reminder for us.
That's great perspective.
Yeah.
Candice Storey, thank you so much for joining the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.